All right, so lastly, we'll take a look at my favourite segment, our Mailbag. So usually we ask on our socials for some questions or hot takes. This week it's just three pretty hot takes. So we'll go through them.
Hot takes.
Yeah, a lot of hot takes. So Squizzy Squire says the Pies will go 1-5 through their first 6 games.
Might have been rounds. I was trying to remember what he actually sent in, but they do have a buy-in at round 6, so we'll take him for first 6 rounds. But that'd be tough to see. And with that one win, I think they've got Hawthorn in a few weeks, but the Hawks knocked them off. I think they might have Port after that, and Essendon and Anzac Day. Yeah. If you're including, I think that might be their 6th game. The Brisbane one is the big one that's coming up. I don't see it, but then again, at the same time, the way they're playing. If they play how they have the first 2 weeks and Essendon play how they did on Saturday, I think it'll be a pretty tight contest. But yeah, Port could have the upper hand for sure. Hawthorn, it's a neutral territory at Adelaide Oval for gather round. So interesting to see how that one plays out. And like I said, the Hawks knocked them off last year.
Yep.
1-5, tough reading, but certainly can't rule it out, I guess.
Yeah, definitely the year after you win a premiership, every opposition team circles your club's name in the calendar going, we're going to knock these guys off. And clearly it's been a pretty rough start, but against the Giants and the Swans, you still have a little bit of faith that Collingwood can return to some sort of form, and they do need to quickly, otherwise the season can get away from them pretty quickly. But as you said, the next month of football up until Anzac Day or their round 6 bye, it's not against easy opponents. Obviously, Hawthorn might not have finished too up high on the ladder last year, but they're looking like they could be pretty hard to deal with on match day, given their new look forward line and their midfielders going quite well at the moment as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the Pies do go going forward.
Absolutely. So Hayden Kelly says a Fremantle win over the Lions is a one-off and they won't make the 8.
I don't have them making the 8. One-off. I don't know. Like the loss probably did say more about Brisbane than it did say about Fremantle winning.
Is that one-off as in that it's going to be a
I think
one-off
as in
win or
we
a big
can't.
scalp?
I think it's more just like I don't think we can expect them to be knocking off some of the better clubs. If Brisbane are one of the better clubs this year, which you expect them to be each week, I don't know. They certainly can have a decent start over the first few rounds. I think they've got the Blues at gather round. That's probably then a pretty big test for them. North Melbourne this week, they might look pretty good, but no, like I don't think it's it's a one-off. I'm not sure. They played well, and they're without some pretty decent names in that side, so it's certainly a positive win. But no, I think they can still contend for the 8. I don't have them in there though.
Yeah, where did you have them?
I also didn't have them in the 8, but I did watch a bit of that game on Sunday. They showed glimpses of their 2022 form that saw them finish 5th and get a home final. More defensively than anything. Brisbane quite potent up forward. They've got arguably one of the best forwards in the competition yet. They were, restricted to I think 70 points in the end, which is quite low for Brisbane, despite their maybe slump in form. But it's good to see that the Dockers are playing a bit more free-flowing football. Obviously, their midfield are quite strong with Sarong, Brayshaw, Fife going back there on a more permanent basis. Jai Miss looks like he's getting some continuity in his football and gaining more and more confidence. And their small forwards, their fleet of foot are really starting to put some scoreboard pressure on going forward. But I don't see them making the 8, and maybe this is more of a one-off, but definitely a lot of confidence can be taken from that game against the Lions on Sunday.
Yeah, they're not making the 8. But famously, I did say that pretty early on the season last year about Sydney. So, last one, Ethan Bald says Crows round 1 loss will be the only one for the year. What do you make of that one, Ed?
Well, I hope for Ethan that he does go for the Crows and that they only do win. Lose one more game for his sake, but I don't think that's going to be the case. As we mentioned earlier, unfortunately, they did miss out on finals last year. Expecting big things from them this year, but maybe the expectations still might be a little too much early in the season. Matthew Nicks seems to get his players in line pretty quickly, and they need to get their season going again. But I'd have to say they probably might lose 1 or 2 more this year. But to be honest, I do have them in the 8. I do have them contending for a premiership maybe next year or 2, given the fact they're quite a young list. But yeah, I'm not too sure on the Crows at the moment. Can't get a good read. I mean, I know it's
a funny game.
But yeah.
It was a funny game because such a slow start. They come back, and whether that was just Gold Coast being a bit too confident or maybe more comfortable, I should say, with where things sat, much like they did against Richmond. So there was concerns for both clubs, obviously.